Think about it. A single Sunday morning that plunged an entire nation into war and literally changed the course of world history forever.
Yeah, that's the date, December 7th, 1941. It's a date that, for so many, just screams betrayal. And it became a powerful, unifying call to arms.
And the location. We're talking about Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. You picture this tropical paradise, but it was also a fortress. Everyone thought it was completely untouchable, this safe harbor thousands of miles away from all the turmoil of a world already at war.
All right, so let's set the scene. It's just before 8 a.m. Everything's calm, peaceful, really. And then, bam! That calm is just ripped to shreds. You got the scream of dive bombers, the thunder of explosions, hundreds of Japanese warplanes appearing seemingly out of thin air.
And here's the number that just stops you in your tracks, 2,403. That is the human cost. In less than 2 hours, 2,403 Americans, and we're talking both servicemen and civilians, were killed.
The fleet? Absolutely devastated. Nearly 20 naval vessels, and that includes 8 of their most powerful battleships, were just left sinking or burning right there in the harbor. The heart of the U.S. Pacific Fleet just torn out.
And it wasn't just the ships. On the airfields, over 300 aircraft were destroyed. Just sitting there, on the ground, they never even got a chance to get into the air to fight back.
But amidst all of that chaos, there was one moment that is just seared into history. It's 8:10 a.m. A single 1,800-pound bomb hits the USS Arizona. It pierces the deck and finds the forward ammunition magazine. The explosion, it was just catastrophic. The entire ship sinks in minutes, taking over 1,000 men down with it, trapped inside.
So you have to ask yourself, how on earth did it come to this? This attack, it felt like it came from out of the blue, but it really didn't. This was the explosive climax of a long, long road, a solid decade of escalating tension between Japan and the United States.
Okay, so if you look at this timeline, you can literally see the path to war being laid out, brick by brick. It really kicks off in 1937, when Japan invades China. The U.S. responds, not with soldiers, but with economic pressure, sanctions, trade embargoes. Then comes the big one, in 1941, a critical oil embargo. That cut off Japan's lifeblood. At that point, negotiations had completely stalled, and a fight was looking, well, pretty much inevitable.
And this right here, this was the fatal miscalculation. See, the U.S. thought they could use economic pressure to force Japan to back down. But it had the exact opposite effect. It just hardened their resolve, backed them into a corner, and from their perspective, made a massive, all-out attack their only viable option.
So the attack happens, and it sends this profound shockwave across the American public. So now, let's shift gears and look at what happened next. How did the nation respond to what would soon be called a date which will live in infamy?
You have to remember, before December 7th, America was deeply divided. A lot of people wanted absolutely nothing to do with the war raging across the globe. So the huge question hanging in the air was, what happens now? How does a divided country respond to something like this?
Well, the answer came the very next day from President Franklin D. Roosevelt. With these powerful words, he wasn't just addressing Congress, he was talking to every single American. And just like that, the debate was over. The nation was united.
And this is where the story goes from a national tragedy to a truly global event. The attack on Pearl Harbor didn't just kick off a war in the Pacific. No, it was like throwing gasoline on a fire. It pulled the United States right into the heart of World War II.
And man, did things move fast after that. It was like a series of dominoes falling. Step 1, December 8, the U.S. declares war on Japan. But then, Step 2, just 3 days later, Japan's allies, Germany and Italy, they declare war on the United States. And so, Step 3, the U.S. immediately reciprocates. Just like that, in less than a week, America went from being on the sidelines to being all in, fighting a massive war on 2 fronts around the globe.
So what was Japan's whole strategy here? What were they trying to do? Well, the plan was to land one single, devastating knockout punch. They wanted to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet so badly that America couldn't fight back while Japan went on to conquer Southeast Asia. It was a huge gamble for a quick, decisive victory.
But here's the thing. They failed. The attack was absolutely devastating, yes, but it was not the knockout blow that Japan had planned for.
And here's the crucial twist. Japan's attack missed its most important targets. First, the Pacific Fleet's aircraft carriers, the future of naval warfare,
They weren't even in port. They were out at sea, totally untouched. On top of that, the base's vital oil supplies, the repair facilities, the submarine docks, they all survived. And that meant the U.S. Navy could recover with astonishing speed.
And that leaves us with the ultimate irony of Pearl Harbor. Japan's attack was designed to intimidate America, to keep it out of the conflict. So you have to wonder, did they instead guarantee their own defeat? I mean, their plan was to sideline the U.S., but what they actually did was awaken what one of their own admirals called a sleeping giant, galvanizing its industrial might and national will for a war it was now absolutely determined to win. The very attack meant to secure their empire may have in fact sealed its fate.